Hey class, this is Mrs. Cornett, and in this video I'm going to show you a few word problems and how to take the information from the word problem and write. This is probably the hardest concept in chapter 4, and so I really want you to pay attention. I want you to take notes as you watch this video. A car rental costs $50 per day plus an additional 50 cents for each mile. The daily cost Y is given by the equation y equals 0.50x plus 50. So that is already in slope-intercept form, where x is the number of miles driven. Here's your question. Find the y-intercept. Well, you should know by now that the y-intercept is always in the form 0y. And so I'm going to take that information and substitute it into the equation. Y equals 0.50 times 0 plus 50. And then y equals 50 because 0.50 times 0 is 0. And so then we have y equals 50. And so that means the y-intercept is actually the ordered pair 0, 50. Okay, the hot air balloon descends 4 feet per second from a height of 400 feet. The height y of the balloon after x seconds is this equation, y equals 400, because that's the starting of the balloon, minus 4x, because it descends 4 feet per second. This time, the question says find the x-intercept. X-intercept is always the format x0. And so we'll do the same thing as the previous problem, except this time we'll put a 0 where the y value is. So this will be 0 equals 400 minus 4x. I'm going to subtract 400 from both sides. Negative 400 equals negative 4x. Divide both sides by negative 4, and x equals positive 100. The question asks for the x-intercept, which is always going to be an ordered pair. And so x is 100 and y is 0. And so that's your final answer. The cost of printing a book is $500 plus $5 per book. Let C represent the total cost and let X represent the number of books. Write an equation that relates C and X. Okay, anytime you see this phrase, write an equation, it's talking about y equals mx plus b. The mx part is always going to be the rate of change. For example, in this, it's $5 per book, or maybe it's 2 miles per hour, or $10 per ticket. Anytime that phrase comes up in the word problem, that is going to be your slope. So the $5 per book. C is the total cost. So we're going to say the total cost equals, it cost a flat $500. So we're going to say we know it costs $500 to print books, plus 5x, because x is the number of books. You can also flip the order. You could also say C equals 5x plus 500. Either answer is fine. And I don't have a coordinate grid on this slide, but if you did graph this, you would first plot 500 on the y-axis, and then you would rise up 5 over 1, up 5 over 1 for your slope, and then connect the line. Let y represent the distance traveled by a car that is moving at a constant speed of 35 miles per hour. Let t represent the number of hours the car has traveled. Write an equation that relates y and t. Okay, so we're going to say y equals, because y is the total distance, we know it's going 35 miles per hour, and so we're going to say 35 times t, because t is the number of hours. So if t was 2, you would plug 2 into the formula, into the equation, to get 70. But for this problem, this is your final answer. A hot air balloon at 1,120 feet descends at a rate of 80 feet per minute. Did you hear that? There's your rate, 80 feet per minute. Let y represent the height of the balloon, and let x represent the number of minutes the balloon descends. First, we're going to write an equation, and it's going to be in that slope-intercept form. And so we'll have y equals, it descends at a rate of 80 per minute. Descend means going down. And so we're actually going to represent that descend as a negative 80x. And remember, x is the number of minutes, plus 1,120. You can also write this in the reverse order. You can also say 1120 minus 80x, because the balloon starts at 1120 feet, and then every minute it goes down by 80 feet. The next question is, what is the y-intercept of the graph, and what does that represent? The y-intercept again is 0y. If we substitute 0 in here for x, we would have 1120 minus 80 times 0 to get an answer of 1120. So the y-intercept is 0, 1120. And what does the 1120 represent? Go back up to the top, a hot air balloon at 1120 feet. That is the initial height of the balloon in the air. You run and walk on a trail that is 6 miles long. You run 4 miles per hour and walk 3 miles per hour. Let y be the number that you walk. Let y be the number of hours you walk. Let x be the number of hours that you run. Write an equation that relates the number of hours you run and the number of hours you walk to the total length of the trail. So if you go back up, it says the total is 6 miles, so we're going to have an equation that equals 6. And then it says you run 4 miles, and so we're going to say 4 times x, plus you walk 3 miles per hour, so we'll say 3y equals a total of 6 miles. So that's your equation. If we go to sketch this graph, it's a lot easier if you put it in slope-intercept form. And so you could subtract 4x from both sides to get 3y equals negative 4x plus 6. Divide everything by 3 to get y equals negative 4/3 x plus 2. And I don't have a grid on here, but you would first plot 2 on the y-axis, and then your slope is negative 4/3. So from that 2 on your y-axis, you would drop down 4, and then move over to the right 3 spaces, put another dot, and then do that slope motion again. Question C says, what is the y-intercept? Again, y-intercept is 0, y. Let's just use this equation that's already in slope-intercept form. This will be y equals negative 4/3 times 0 plus 2. And do you see that y equals 2? And what does that mean? Well, if x is 0, remember x was the number of hours that you ran. And so if x is 0, that means you did not run at all. You walked the whole time. Okay, that's all for now. I know that these word problems can get hard, but I really want you to push through and practice these. Watch this video again, read in your ebook. Please ask me questions. I'd love to help you on this.